All right, so we had MD Gates 21 on Instagram ask us, and this is right up Jay Wall and Tursky's alley. What is the length incremental change for wedges on tour?
Jay Wall.
You going to throw me on the spot here?
Tackle it.
Of course. I'm not out on tour every week. I'm working with clients, so I don't get to see what they do out on tour.
I mean, the thing is that like specs, length, especially length, you really got to start asking for that stuff. Those are in the build sheets. I mean, Tursky and I aren't really ever digging into the increments on. I'd say if I was going to give a guess, maybe half an inch would probably be my guess. But here's the thing. I don't really think that there's like a common increment for length when it comes to your wedge set out on tour, because everybody's different. Everybody's got different needs. Everybody is using a different wedge setup. Some guys have 4 wedges, others have 3, and depending on how many you have, that's going to change the increments between your wedges. I don't know. I mean, it sounds like I'm kind of giving a non-answer here, but I mean, it'd be tough to find an average. I mean, you'd have to start going through build sheets out on tour, and I don't think the tour reps are going to let me just start sifting through the binders to see what the average is.
Yeah. What do you say here, Andrew? I mean, I have to assume you're in the same page. I would guess we're all in alignment here that it's extremely player dependent.
Yeah, I mean, aside from Bryson, who plays the same length, yeah, I mean, it's super player dependent, and pretty much the only thing consistent is going to be that your highest lofted wedge is going to be the shortest club other than the putter in your bag. Aside from that, it's really preference. It depends. I mean, I can't give a suggestion on length to a person when they're ranging from 5'4" to 6'5". You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's go get fit
what I've
for
seen
sure on length.
What I've seen out of wedge setups from tour players I've worked with, I've seen it all over the place. I've seen one player that goes with the same length for all their wedges, meaning the lob and the sand are the same length, and then those 2 clubs are a half inch shorter than the pitching wedge, and that would be a 3 wedge setup. I've seen folks go with 1/4 inch increments, from a pitch to a gap to a sand to a lob. It gets kind of murky when you're talking about a 3 wedge system where you don't have a gap wedge in play. So it really is all over the place. I would say this, that the standard length that the manufacturer determines for that product, that factors in the head weight to be able to achieve a certain swing weight. So if you decide to go outside of whatever that standard length is for that product based upon the OEM, then it means that head weight is going to be more difficult to match swing weights through the build. So if you decide that you're going to go with 1/4 inch increments when the OEM has 1/2 inch increments, then that means that your swing weights are going to get incrementally heavier when you get into the lob wedge. So now you got to try to take weight out, which is a lot harder to do, especially at the retail level, not the tour level. Or vice versa, if it's a 1/4 inch increment standard and you decide you want to go to 1/2 inch increments, now those sand wedge and lob wedge are going to be very light swing weights, so now you got to add weight. Hence, what was it? What was the hashtag, Jonathan? Lead tape lunacy.
Lead tape lunacy.
That's right.
I think you also want to look at how you're using the wedge itself. Like if you're a guy who likes playing full sand wedges, then you might want to go longer. If you're a guy who uses sand wedges mostly around the green and you want more control, maybe go a little bit shorter.
Yep. Can't agree anymore with both of you guys that it's extremely player dependent. Making a generalization in this topic, I think, is I hate to cop out, so to speak, but I just don't think it's possible to make a generalization and say what are the standard incremental changes for lengths and wedges on tour, because it's really all over the place.